Welcome, future managers, to this explainer. Today, we're focusing squarely on your Introduction to Management coursework, and we're tackling a topic that is literally everywhere in the corporate world, the committee. Okay, let's just dive right into this, because mastering the use of committees is an absolutely essential leadership skill. Honestly, it's a fundamental tool in your managerial toolkit. Whether you eventually end up working in a massive multinational corporation, a university, or a local nonprofit, you are going to encounter, and likely lead, committees. So understanding how they actually work under the hood and exactly why we use them is absolutely critical to your success.
But first, I want to pose a question to get us thinking. Why do organizations even rely on committees instead of just letting one boss decide everything? I mean, think about it. A single executive making all the choices seems way faster, right? Why complicate the whole process by putting a bunch of people in a room to argue about it for 3 hours? Well, as we'll see today, the modern business environment is incredibly complex, and sometimes speed just isn't the most important factor at play.
To answer that, let's look at our agenda for today. First, defining the committee. Second, formal versus informal committees. Third, roles within a committee. Fourth, why managers actually use them. And finally, the strategic committee delay.
All right, Section 1, defining the committee.
It's a term we throw around a lot, right? But in management science, it has a very specific meaning. Our formal definition is a group of persons to whom, as a group, some matter is committed. The key phrases here are as a group and some matter is committed. It basically implies the existence of a collective team, a board, a task force, or commission that is specifically tasked with accomplishing certain acts.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core purpose we see in the source text. A committee is instituted to deal with a specific problem or problem areas. This is what truly distinguishes a committee from just, a random small group of coworkers chatting by the water cooler. A committee has a strict mandate. They have a specific problem they are charged with dealing with.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. Committees get a terrible rap. We have all absolutely dreaded that calendar invite for a seemingly endless meeting. But according to our management textbooks, effective use of committees can actually enhance motivation and productivity. Research proves that when managers use committees correctly, they result in greater motivation, improved problem solving, and increased overall output. So the problem isn't the existence of committees itself, it's just how poorly they're sometimes conducted.
Moving right along to Section 2, formal versus informal committees.
So how are these groups actually structured, and why does their delegated authority matter so much? What's really fascinating here is the distinction regarding power dynamics. A top-level executive might just want some group thinking on a particular problem and pull people together without giving them any real authority. Or, on the flip side, the group might be a baked-in, permanent part of the organizational chart.
Let's compare them directly so you, as future managers, know exactly when to use which. First, we have informal committees. These have absolutely no real power. They are intended solely for group thinking and brainstorming, and they're formed without any specific delegation of authority. Then you have formal committees. These are legally or structurally empowered. They're organized as part of the formal structure and are charged with specific power, duties, and responsibilities. Think of a corporate board of directors or university syndicate. Those are formal committees with real, tangible line authority.
Committees also vary wildly by duration. You have temporary committees, which are formed for a highly specific purpose and disbanded immediately after the task is completed, kind of like a special inquiry committee looking into a single workplace incident. Contrast that with permanent or standing committees. These are assigned tasks that continue indefinitely, like a pension committee, a salary review committee, or a finance committee. This just shows how incredibly flexible this organizational tool can be.
Okay, Section 3, roles within a committee.
Let's look at how this builds into the dynamics of the people actually sitting around the table. Because look, a committee isn't just some faceless monolith. It's made up of unique individuals playing very specific parts. Whenever you sit in a meeting next, just look around the room. You'll definitely notice members playing distinct roles. You have the information givers pairing off with the information seekers. You've got active contributors, and then you have the followers who generally just go along with the consensus. And crucially, when disagreements happen, and they will, you'll see people taking an aggressive role to push an idea, while others naturally step up to be the coordinators or compromisers to negotiate a solution. Recognizing these roles is a massive part of successfully managing the group's effort.
Section 4, why managers use committees.
We are now transitioning to the absolute core of today's explainer,
This is the strategic why behind deploying these groups in the real world. Our source text outlines several positive reasons a manager deploys a committee. Let's look at our roadmap for this. 1. Superior judgment. 2. Motivation through participation. 3. Avoiding concentration of authority. 4. Sharing and transmitting information. 5. Achieving coordination. And 6. Representation of interested groups. Let's break these down one by one, because this is where the real magic of management happens.
First up, superior judgment. The absolute crucial point here is that complex problems in modern business just require way more experience, knowledge, and judgment than any single individual possesses. Group interactions through committees are incredibly enlightening, especially when it comes to tricky policy matters. The clarification of problems and the development of totally new ideas happen best through group deliberation. Quite simply, multiple heads are better than one.
Number 2 is motivation through participation. Look, we all know those colleagues who will aggressively push back against every single new initiative unless they were consulted first, right? Well, committee membership solves this beautifully. When individuals are permitted wider participation in decision-making, they naturally feel way more enthusiastic about accepting and executing the resulting plans. They helped build it, so of course they want it to succeed.
Third, we have decentralizing authority. A really smart manager uses committees to avoid the dangerous concentration of authority in a single person. Think about major financial and capital investment policies. A manager might not want to take full solitary responsibility for making a massive, super risky decision all on their own. A committee safely decentralizes that power and essentially shares the heavy responsibility.
Our 4th and 5th reasons go hand in hand: information sharing and coordination. By using a committee, all members learn about a project simultaneously. Decisions and instructions are received uniformly across the board, which clarifies things, avoids frustrating misunderstandings, and actually saves time in the long run. On top of that, the modern organization places a heavy burden on managers to integrate plans. Committees help enormously by actively coordinating activities across various, sometimes isolated organizational units.
The 6th positive reason is representing interest groups. Often, a company has diverse internal factions. If a top executive has an internal problem involving various different department heads, forming a committee ensures every single department gets a representative voice at the table. Even boards of directors are often selected specifically to represent different groups who are financially invested in the company's success.
And finally, Section 5, the strategic committee delay.
So management isn't just about perfect synergy and cooperation all the time. There is a slightly cynical, very real-world secret you absolutely need to be aware of. Read this quote with me. Careful managers know that one of the surest ways to delay the handling of a problem, and even to postpone a decision indefinitely, is to appoint a committee to study the matter. Yep, this is our 7th reason managers use committees. Sometimes they want to deliberately avoid taking action.
And this textbook highlight completely cements the plot twist. Sometimes managers make committees for strategic reasons. If a problem is just way too hot to handle, or the manager simply wants to kick the can down the road, they don't flat out say no. Instead, they say, let's form an inquiry committee to look into this. It is a highly calculated strategic move to just hit the pause button on a tough issue. Sometimes the members are even specifically chosen because the manager knows they will take absolutely forever to agree on anything.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to wrap up today's explainer. Think about the last group project or meeting you were a part of. Were you truly driving a decision forward, achieving superior judgment and coordination? Or were you just part of a manager's strategic delay? Evaluating your own real-world experiences through this new managerial lens is exactly how you move from being just an employee to becoming a true leader. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into Intro to Management. Keep analyzing the structures around you, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.